To get started, you want to arrange your threads on the board into two sections, and I'm going to have two sections that are a mirror image of each other. So I'm going to begin by working the first section. So I'm going to take this side and I'm going to put the outside thread to one side to begin. Then I'm going to take my next colour. I want to take this thread over the top of these threads and pull through. And then I want to take this thread and I want to do the same thing, but I want to go under the threads like that and then pull through. And then pull it tight, and I can drop this thread and then take the next colour in the sequence and do the same thing over the remaining threads. So first I want to go over and then I want to go under. And then when I've done that, I want to drop this thread like I did last time and then take my next colour, and I just want to repeat this until I've only got one thread left. So once I've worked all the threads at this side, I can put the last thread to one side, and I want to do the exact same thing at the other side, but just a mirror image. So taking the first thread and leaving the outside one free, I want to go over and then pull through. And then I want to go under and pull through. And then again drop this thread and then do the same thing for all the rest of the threads until I've only got one left. So once I've knotted all the threads at both sides, I want to take these two threads in the centre and just knot them together. So I want to go back and do each side at a time again. So I'm going to work with this side to begin with again. I want to start with my outside thread. And then I want to work over the rest of the threads at this side with this thread, going from left to right, doing forward knots. And then I want to drop this thread, and then I want to take the next thread at the left hand side, and I want to do the same thing again. So we're working from left to right, doing forward knots, but not doing the last thread. And then again I want to drop this thread, and I just want to keep repeating this, dropping the thread each time until I've worked all my threads at this side. So once I've done all the threads, I can take the threads at this side and put them out of the way for now. And I want to do the same thing but a mirror image at the other side. So I want to take the outside thread and I want to work from right to left, doing backward knots all the way over all these threads. So like I did before, I want to drop this thread now and take the next one at the right hand side and work over the rest of the threads but not this one, and I want to keep repeating this again until I've only got one thread left. So once I've knotted all my threads at both sides, I can work on the next part of the pattern. So to start the next part of my pattern, I want to work from the inside and I want to take the thread that's next to the one on the inside and I want to work from right to left doing backward knots. But this time when I work with the next thread next to it, what I want to do is I want to take that one and I want to work over both these threads. And then I want to work over the 3 threads with the one next. And then I want to take the next one and do the same again, working over all the threads. And then for the last thread, just repeat what you've just done and work over all the threads. And then I want to take the threads at the other side and I want to do the same thing but a mirror image of what I did here. So working from the centre, I want to take the 2 threads and then the one next to the one in the centre, and I want to work from left to right doing forward knots. And then again taking all the threads and working over them with the next thread and just doing this until I've got to the last thread. So once I've done this at both sides, you can see that I've brought them out to pinch them all into the sections like they were at the beginning, and then I want to repeat what I did at this bit. So you're basically going back to the bit that you did at the beginning. So you want to take one thread out of the way and keep it the same colour that you did last time. You could switch them up if you wanted to try a different kind of pattern. Then just take your next colour in the sequence, you want to go over and then pull it through and then under and pull through. And then take your next colour and do the same thing again, remembering each time you've worked a thread you want to drop it and not work it again for this section. You want to do this at this side and that side like you did before. And once you've done both sections like you did before, you want to take the 2 threads that are in the centre and you can knot these 2 together. and from there you're going to work the same section like you did there. So you're going to knot with each thread towards the centre. So at this side I'm going to be doing from left to right using forward knots, and then at this side it'll be right to left using backward knots, but skipping each thread as you do it. So as I work over here, I'm not going to be knotting over this thread once I finish with it. So once you've done your first row, again you'll drop this thread, and then you'll take the next one and you'll knot over all the remaining threads but not this one, and you just keep doing this for this section until you've done every thread. And once you've knotted every thread at this side, you want to do your mirror at the other side like you did before. So taking the outside thread, you want to knot from right to left, doing backward knots until you get to the centre. And then dropping the thread that you just worked, you want to do the same thing with the next colour in your sequence over the remaining threads. And again, do this until you're down to your last thread. And once you've done both sides, you can return to what you did there, and you just want to take your threads from the centre and then pinch them in until you've got two sections again. And you want to keep repeating these sections all the way down until you've got the bracelet as long as you want it to be. And when you finish, you should end up with something that looks like this. So if you started from a loop like I have, you want 2 braided tie-on ends at one end. If you've started from a flat edge, you can do 1 braided tie-on here and 1 braided tie-on here. So now you just want to try on your bracelet. And that is your completed diamond gap friendship bracelet.